Welcome to the Dynasty Vipers Vipercast, where all things football are injected right to your veins, with your hosts, Matt Donnelly, Calvin Shoemake, and Jeff Mueller.
What is up? Welcome to an all-new installment of the Dynasty Vipers Team Spotlight. I am your host, Al Shoemake, and this is going to be a fun show to do. We are joined by a couple of awesome people who understand the fantasy football industry, understand football, but most importantly, they are fans of the Miami Dolphins. We're going to get to them and introduce them in just a second, but just to tell you what we're doing here today, this is a team spotlight series talking about the Miami Dolphins. And why is that important when we're talking about dynasty football? Remember, we're the Dynasty Vipers, so we want to help you in your dynasty leagues. And it's important when we get to January, when we get to February, most of us roll over and we start thinking about our rookies. And that's really important. That's a huge thing in dynasty leagues. But it's also important to understand where they land, the teams that they land in, that they find themselves in, and the teams themselves. What kind of offseason do we have going? What are the offensive coordinators looking for? The head coaching, what kind of culture are they promoting? There's a lot of things to like when we're talking about the Miami Dolphins. And there we go, George joining us as well. So yeah, this is an exciting, awesome time for Miami. I think it's fair to say they are ahead of schedule. But before we get into them, I want to start. Tyler, let's start with you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're working on, and where we can find you.
Gotcha. Hello, I'm Tyler Moss, Tyler Moss NFL on Twitter. I am really, really big into draft stock, draft tape and watching and putting together draft guides. So currently I'm working on a very large draft guide looking to launch March 1st, putting a lot of rookie efforts in. Everything podcast-wise I do will be found on my Twitter, Tyler Moss NFL. Again, I've been on 14 different podcasts. I'm almost a year into the industry. I'm very pride myself on the fact that I've been in a lot of places. You can find me in a lot of places. My shaded face and my bold takes. Tyler Moss NFL on Twitter. Follow me, please. Graciously appreciated.
Mr. 5K, Mr. Troy, who I heard one time got a shout out from Matt Berry. That may or may not be true. Troy, tell us a little bit about yourself, where we can find you, and what you're working on.
Sure. So y'all can find me at TK Mode on Twitter. I am a writer for Ball Blast Football, as well as I'm one of the co-hosts of Fantasy Football Confidential. We are on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got some big guests coming this off season, so check it out. You'll see about it, probably tomorrow. I'll advertise it, but don't forget to miss that. I'm also a contributor to Join Our Circle. And so I do writing there, and I also jump on some pods. So, yeah, just follow me on TK Mode on Twitter. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, I love that. And, in fact, your other co-host, I'm supposed to be getting together with her and some other ones to talk about the Broncos next week. So looking forward to that. But joining us here, talk about the Dolphins. George, where can we find you? What are you working on these days?
You can find me on Twitter at BFTGPod. I can confirm that Troy did get a shout out from Matthew Berry. I cannot confirm nor deny how much he paid him for that shout out, but it did happen. You can find me also at Sleeper. I'm a contributor to Sleeper. I host there every other Friday night. We do a live AMA. It's basically you jump in. We have people all throughout the industry, big names, small names, people you've heard of, people you never heard of. And it's just like an AMA. There's no rules. There's nothing's taboo. There's nothing off limits. We just go down rabbit holes wherever the conversation takes us. And then during the fantasy football season, I'm one of the co-hosts for the Sunday Blitz. It's a live call-in show where we take your start-sit questions. And I also do a waiver wire show on Tuesdays for them as well.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. Excited to talk about the Dolphins. And I want to just start with a little bit of your history with the Dolphins. Troy, I want to start with you. Just give us a little bit of background. When did you start following the team? Are you born into it? Is this something that you picked up over time? and then we'll toss it around the room.
Now, I was born into this since day one, since like OJ McDuffie days. That's my dad's favorite player, OJ McDuffie. So I was born into it. And ever since I was a little kid, obviously, I didn't really appreciate the football until I was like a teenager. Like I would say high school is like when I really started to follow along in terms of the rules of what was going on. But I've always had Dolphins gear and especially, one of my favorite times was the Wildcat era with Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams. That's probably the year I identify with the most in terms of me just being so excited to be a Dolphins fan. Like I remember just how amazing that season was. But overall, I just always been in it. My mom always asked me, like, Troy, why are you still a Dolphins fan? Because she's kind of wishy-washy. She's like, all I do is make you suffer. But I'm like, you know what? Once you put your heart and soul in the team, it's like a toxic lover, man. It don't matter what they do to you. You're going to stay with them. So that's pretty much how I feel. But yeah, I've been in it from day one.
If that doesn't describe fandom, I don't know what does. George, back to you. Tell us a little bit about your history with the Dolphins.
Well, so originally I'm from New England. Grew up in the great state of Massachusetts. Lived there till I was about 11 years old. Moved to Florida. Living up north, the Patriots really weren't a very good football team. The area I grew up in was mostly baseball, so big Red Sox fan. Came to Florida and just started to start playing football in Pop Warner. Started getting into it then, and Dan Marino was the quarterback for the Dolphins. And I was just impressed by what that guy did every day or every week with the team, and had been following it ever since. And when Troy started talking about Ronnie Brown and the Wildcat, and when we busted that out against New England, oh man, it was so pretty, so pretty.
Yeah, that's really cool. Tyler, how about you? Tell us about your history with the team.
Yeah, I figured I'd be the only one to name drop Ronnie Brown today. First jersey of my life. I'm a youngin'. I am in college right now. 2001 baby. Love to see it. So my remembrance of football really starts in the 2006 to 2008 range, where Ronnie Brown was just a difference maker. 2008 Pro Bowler, 10 touchdowns. That's my guy right there. Probably, I think, first memorable football card, Ronnie Brown. So that's my guy. Obviously raised into it. I'm a Florida boy from Tampa, so I get Bucks and Dolphins from my father, but I'm Dolphins at heart, and I'm not jumping on the Brady bandwagon. So settle down, everyone in the comment section. Okay, we're just here for the Dolphins because I do not like my life. Something about that misery, the taste of it, beautiful. Go Dolphins.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's kind of funny. I'm a Saints fan, and there's a lot of history between the Saints and the Dolphins, actually, that a lot of people don't necessarily know. Who was the other Wildcat member? Ronnie Brown and
the weed smoker.
Ricky
Williams, and that's obviously the Saints.
Talk about Ricky Williams. I thought you were going to a quarterback position.
I thought you were talking about
that. You can't do that. No, we're not going there.
I'm not going to go there. But let's talk about, quarterback is obviously a pretty big point for the Dolphins team. And we talk about 2020. I think we kind of have to also include, when we're talking about this, especially with the Dolphins, the 2019 season, where the Dolphins kind of hit a little bit of the reset button. And I'm not sure it could have gone any better than you thought it would have gone when you're looking at it from the 2019 perspective, in that you were hoping that you were, the tank for Tua, all of that. You ended up creating a culture that learned how to win, I think, at the end of the season, and still ended up with Tua. So I think things went well. But, and I mentioned kind of at the beginning of the show, maybe being a little bit ahead of schedule. George, go back to you. Like, what was it like, I guess, as a Dolphin fan in 2020? And tell us a little bit about just your perspective on the season.
So coming into this season, I didn't think we would win 10 games. I think any reasonable Dolphin fan was not expecting that. The biggest thing I wanted to see is improvement from game to game and how competitive they were. If you look at how the Dolphins started out in 2019, going up against the Ravens week 1, we just got absolutely thrashed. And we weren't very competitive week to week. So as long as we were competitive and we were in games, like, I was happy because I know there's a process. It's not something that just the light switch comes on and everything changes overnight, especially with, no OTAs, no preseason games. You got the whole COVID, so practice is very limited. The turnover on the roster was enormous. All these new places, all these new faces in new places, so it's going to take time to gel. So I was expecting an 8-8 season. I would have been thrilled with that as long as we were competitive in the games. To go 10-6, just barely miss out on the playoffs. Most years you get 10 wins, it's an automatic bid to the playoffs. So looking at it, the improvement from 2019 to 2020, it's day and night. And I have loved everything the Dolphins have done.
Unless you're in the NFC East, and that number apparently is like 7, not 10. But
Yes.
Tyler, kick that over to you. What about just 2020 season, and how'd you think everything went?
Yeah, I mean, it just speaks a ton on Brian Flores. I mean, even 5 wins was probably one of the worst NFL rosters since the Browns in 2016. Throw the Lions further down the line. I mean, this team, seriously, if they would have won 1 to 2 games last year, it really wouldn't have surprised too many people. And that's when you really start believing in Brian Flores. You're like, this guy did it with he got 5 wins, pulled out of where, and it's just I think that's when I really started believing in him. And then the just transformation with the defense somehow dragging us to a really top 5 defense this year. We look fantastic. It's the reason we won a lot of our games. The offense obviously now needs to come around. That's the focus of this upcoming season. But what Brian Flores was able to do in the 2019, I guess, offseason, where picked up Van Noy, and you get all these new additions to the defense and Ogba and everyone on the defensive end. Now I want to see what he does for the offensive end. I think that will make him and break him as a coach is now, okay, you're clearly the defensive line. We know that, but what can you do on the offensive end this offseason? This is going to be an exciting draft for Dolphins fans. It's not as exciting when you're drafting an offensive lineman. It's really exciting when you're drafting guys like wide receivers and running backs, and we should see that this upcoming draft. Get excited. This is a really fun time to be a Dolphins fan. It's just unfortunate it ended in week 17. I hate you, Josh Allen.
Hey, I like the way you ended it. So I couldn't agree more with what George and Tyler said, but I was expecting like 6 to 7 wins. So it kind of played out in terms of I did not expect 10 wins, just like George said. Like any Dolphins fans that are expecting 10 wins, you're BSing. I'm sorry. Like there's we completely exceeded expectations. And one of the things is, in terms of just the way the quarterback change happened, like I expected Tua to get his shot later in the season. And then obviously there was a lot of controversy in terms of when Tua started because of Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was playing well. And Tua had his moments where he did look promising and you can see that potential. And obviously he struggled. Like there's no doubt that you can see the struggles. And he's a rookie. I think some people were hard on him. I still believe in him. And we're going to get to the whole Watson stuff later. But I believe that, and a rookie who had no offseason, who was thrown into the middle of the season, I think overall he played well. And just like Tyler said, next year is going to be really exciting because we're going to make offensive additions that it has to be ramped up. Like there was some times where, again, we were throwing the practice squad guys like all season. That's what he was doing, throwing to random like Hollins, like really, like he was like our wide receiver 2 some games. Like it was pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Special teams specialist.
Exactly.
Grant, yeah, great.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I'm like, it was a mosh pot of just random offense. So I'm excited for the future. I was pleasantly surprised we won 10 games. I was honestly, if we made it to the playoffs, I was hoping we did, but I didn't see us advancing far into the playoffs. And our defense, I was not expecting our defense to be one of the best defenses in the league. I was obviously also very surprised by that. But overall, extremely happy how this season went. But obviously we have some improvements to make during the offseason and next year.
Yeah, and that's it. Very similar theme. Like a lot of you guys are kind of hitting on a lot of the same things. And one of the things I think last season that surprised me in the offseason was bringing in Chan Gailey. And I think part of that was also with Ryan Fitzpatrick there. I think there's that history sort of went into that move. But now Chan Gailey steps aside. And as of now, the Dolphins have not named an offensive coordinator. They're in a really unique spot, though. This is really cool. I was digging this up. Their quarterback and their running back coach are taking turns calling plays at the Senior Bowl, as the Miami Dolphins have their coaching staff there at the Senior Bowl. So what do you guys know about those guys? What would your expectations be, or do you have any hopes for who you would want to see in that role? George, I'll start with you, and then just kick it around if you guys have anything you want to add in.
So the one thing I want them to bring somebody in that's going to be able to be the offensive coordinator for at least the next 2 or 3 years. One thing that I think sets not just young players up, but a lot of players up in general is inconsistency, both on the coaching staff and in the front office. So I would love to get somebody in there who's going to be a consistent voice for Tua. If we trade for Watson, which again, as Troy alluded to, we'll talk about later, just somebody that's going to be there for the next couple of years that is going to be consistent voice, running the same offense consistently. Like, I can't stress enough how many good players have flushed out of the NFL because they've had 4 offensive coordinators and 3 head coaches in 4 years. Like, that type of inconsistency, that type of different coaching strategies is just not good. It's hard to learn an NFL system, and having to learn a new one every year is extremely difficult. So I'm not really going to be able to throw a name out on who I would like, but I would just like them to have somebody that they bring in that can be there for a good 2 to 3 years. This way we have some sort of consistency, because I don't think Coach Flo's going anywhere for the next couple of years. He's going to have that job, I think, as long as he wants the job in Miami. The front office, the ownership, they're all impressed with him. All the fans just absolutely love the guy. I think he's fantastic. So that job is his as long as he wants it. I would like to see something like what they do in Pittsburgh, where, like, even if the coach comes out and has a couple of down years in a row, like, we don't can him. He's shown he's a good coach. Stuff happens. Players have down years. Coaches have down years. But the turnover rate just kills people. So whoever we bring in, I would like to see it for at least the next couple of years, 2, 3, 4 years. That would make me very happy.
Yeah. I agree. You got to have someone long-term, someone consistent that's going to work with a young quarterback. But I would like to also give a lot of praise to Eric Studesville, the running back coach for the Miami Dolphins. He took Salvin Ahmed and Myles Gaskin, a 7th round and an undrafted running back, and made them, at least fantasy-wise purposes, very, very valuable and very valuable to the offense. Myles Gaskin went from really a rough 2019 season where, yes, the offensive line really wasn't there, and we can talk about that. 3 rookies starting last year on our offensive line. I'd like to add 2 more and have an Indianapolis-style line where we grow them together.
Yes.
We need that. But yes, huge ups to Studesville and just what he was able to do with these running backs. So big credit to him. As far as getting an offensive coordinator, again, someone consistent that is going to be here a long time, work with the young quarterbacks, obviously. I love Robbie Brown, my apologies. Came in, was working with Tua a lot before his Alabama days, grew him as a prospect, so there's experience there. So that's really, really good as far as development. Bring in a coordinator that's going to be able to work with both these very, very talented guys and both the running back and quarterback coach. Just a guy that's going to be able to test Tua as well as nurture and grow him, because I think that was an issue that we were seeing last year with Gailey, is a lack of willingness to take the chances with Tua and let him make the big plays. We saw a lot of screen games and a lot of running back screens, wide receiver screens, short slants. It's just not exciting plays when you're down by a good bit and you got to get back into games. That's just not what's going to win it for you. So get a guy that's willing to take shots with Tua, but also at the same time protect him and make sure he's growing and taking the right steps needed. I think is important.
Wait, Troy, you're on mute.
Troy, you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
It was good advice, though. I agree with every word you said.
Yeah, everything. That's great.
It's funny because I was just agreeing. The first thing I just said was agreeing with y'all. But what I was gonna say is, in terms of who do I prefer between like our running back coach and our quarterback coach, I like Sudfeld. I believe that out of the 2, I don't see any of them honestly getting the job. I think they're gonna try to look elsewhere and bring somebody in. That's my personal opinion. I wouldn't mind in-house because, just like my friend said, it builds chemistry. Like, we need consistency. We already had, turnover with Gailey and O'Shea, so that's already not a good start. So it'd be nice to have some familiarity within the system, and hopefully that, translates to consistent play offensively. So that would be nice. I have no idea what they're going to do, but we need to be more aggressive. Again, when we're down, we can't just keep doing dump off plays to get back in the game. That this is not a formula for success. And I feel like our running game was solid, and the Gaskins, and we're going to talk about this in terms of the draft, in terms of the running back position, but we have a few pieces like Mike Gesicki. He had a great year. I mean, when he was healthy, he overall, when he got the ball, he got the opportunities, he did his thing. Parker, I know there's some mixed feelings between Dolphins fans about Parker. I think overall, I know Tyler doesn't like him. Doesn't like him. Here's the thing. We obviously need to upgrade. I know he's going to be on the team next year. He's going to be there, so he's going to be a contributor. So I think he'll be solid, but we obviously need help there. But we just need an offensive coordinator that's a little bit more aggressive. Our defense is going to be solid next year. We're going to have, most of our pieces coming back. So we just need to upgrade offensively. So once we get the weapons, as long as we get somebody who's has a good balance between the run game and being aggressive downfield, I don't have a preference. I don't feel there's that many candidates right now that are really exciting, unfortunately. But we'll see. But as long as we have somebody who isn't going to be playing scared, then I think our offense, our whole team could take it to the next level.
Well, and playing scared there, that I think is a pretty big part of this, right? Because it did seem like, now, as an LSU fan, I got to see Tua and be scared of Tua all the time. So I always felt like Tua was so great at pushing the ball down the field. Had such a great arm. I loved his throwing. And then I didn't see a lot of that when he got his opportunities. They almost seemed like they were scared to kind of let him go, let him work. And as you guys are shaking your heads, so that's good. As Dolphins fans watching the games, you seem like you maybe had that same experience. I almost feel like with a coordinator, you need somebody that's going to take the reins off a little bit and put some trust, whoever that quarterback is. But let's talk about who the quarterback might be and maybe who you want it to be, because the rumors are that the Dolphins are the favorite to land DeShaun Watson, who has now officially requested a trade from the Texans. So, Troy, I'm going to just toss it right back to you. And, who do you want to be the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins in 2021?
Here's the thing. Obviously, y'all see me wearing the Tua jersey, right? Tua, I love you, but you're not DeShaun Watson. I'm sorry. If we can get DeShaun Watson, I want him. Look, I'm telling you, if we get DeShaun Watson, we are playoff contenders, possibly Super Bowl contenders with our defense. And unfortunately, it's going to be expensive in terms of draft capital, but at the same time, a quarterback of that magnitude is going to change your whole team. So I'm sorry, who have we had that's even close to a DeShaun Watson type quarterback? Yeah, Chad Henne. We could go down to Chad Pennington. Come on, guys. We never had this opportunity, at least not in my lifetime, of quarterback of this caliber.
We did. We had a Ryan Tannehill. But the problem with that is we also had an Adam Gase.
In retrospect, we had a Ryan Tannehill, but we didn't have Ryan Tannehill. But we would have DeShaun Watson if he came. But I understand what you're saying, George. But yeah, it has to be Watson. I'm sorry. It's not close. I love you, Tua, but you're not DeShaun.
George, what do you think?
I half agree with Troy. I do love Tua. If the Dolphins stay with Tua, I'm happy. We got a ton of draft capital this draft. This is a very good draft. I looked at Marcus Mosier's mock draft that he just put out first of the year. Absolutely love what he did for the Dolphins. He took Sewell at 3, gave us the best offensive lineman in the draft. And then I can't remember the name of the linebacker that he had us pegged for at 18. But no, it was begin with it. Here, let me give me 1 second. No.
If it's JOK, I'll cry. If he actually falls to us to get out of Notre Dame,
Xavier Collins.
That was Xavier Collins. Great.
Xavier Collins, yeah. Man. And he compared Collins to a Devontae Hightower, which I think is a very fair comparison. So while I do love the prospect of landing DeShaun Watson, and I do agree, like we become instant Super Bowl contenders with DeShaun Watson. We have enough money to bring in a free agent wide receiver. I think we actually, I'm not going to be disappointed if we don't draft a running back. Like, I think we have serviceable running backs. I don't think we need to go out and draft a flashy running back. I'm just one of those guys who do feel running backs are interchangeable. Miles Gaskins did average 4.1 yards per carry. He had over 40 receptions in like 9 or 10 games. So, if he stays healthy the whole season, you extrapolate that out, it's a pretty decent season. So we don't need to spend high draft capital on a running back. But I would love to see us get another offensive lineman. I believe it was Tyler who mentioned about the Indianapolis O-line. Just load up that offensive line, protect your quarterback, and get a nasty defense. Like that to me would be happy. Now, if we do trade for DeShaun Watson, and the only thing we have to give up is Tua, the 3 and the 18, like I'm all on board. I think that puts us even with Buffalo. I'm not going to discredit how good Buffalo is. They're a very solid team. So I would say 1A, 1B, us two will be fighting for the division for years to come. And it would be, as a Dolphins fan, as a Buffalo fan, it would be a fantastic thing to watch to bring back that rivalry.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, this is my fantasy dream, is that we go and get Penny Sewell and we can have 4 young linemen. I would say move Austin Jackson to the left guard position. And Michael Dieter would move into center because Karras is now out, only on a 1-year deal. That would mean that our entire line was built off of 3 year 2 guys, rookie, and a year 3 guy. So, I mean, that's beautiful to me. And even I think Michael Dieter's replaceable at the center position. I think that's a fantastic line. I think you built young, let them grow together, let them mesh together. Obviously, Solomon Kinley was a fantastic surprise in the 5th round. I mean, he was just beautiful this year. He was beautiful. And that's the kind of breaks you need as a drafter. I think Brian Flores has found a few breaks where he's gotten late round steals. Obviously, on the defensive end, Needham's just a guy that kind of comes to mind with that. But yeah, no, fantastic line building is really, really key to a good quarterback play as well. Tua was not under pressure as much as we kind of thought he would have to deal with this year. And again, let these young guys grow. Austin Jackson, I still think, needs more seasoning. He'll get that this offseason. I don't think Tua's out yet. I think if you just have a great team around him, you're just make it impossible for him to be bad. Get him a wide receiver he's comfortable with. There's a lot of great wide receivers in this upcoming free agency class. You get Allen Robinson.
In the draft, yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly. In the draft, too. You have a young line that's really, really talented and a great defense. If he cannot succeed, he's not good enough for it, and you find the next guy the next year. I don't think this team is a team that needs a top 5 pick to get a quarterback to make a difference. I think if they say if they were in this draft right now, it's year 2 of Tua, and Tua wasn't successful in 2020. You tell me you wouldn't? I wouldn't mind Mac Jones with like the 17th pick in this draft, because I think Mac Jones could step into a great defense, great line, great weapons. If Tua can't succeed with everything we give him, just get a guy next year. You're already so ahead of schedule that it really doesn't matter to me whether or not you're great and ready for the Super Bowl this upcoming year. Again, we won 5 games last year, expected to win 1 game. The fact that we're this ahead is remarkable as Dolphins fans. You tell us we were going into a rebuild. I was expecting 3 or 4 years, and we're talking like let's make a deep run in the playoffs in 2021. I'm blown away. I say give Tua a little bit more time. I mean, it can't hurt. You got a really great team around him, and very young too, especially on the defense and offensive line end. So
yeah, that's the thing.
Well, let's talk about the team around him that you mentioned there, and we got a couple of questions here, and I think this is really important for this team. And one of the things that I love about the Dolphins is where they are right now. Every time I turn over something else, some other piece of this offseason that they have in front of them, it's like better news. Like I looked at their salary cap, and look, the Saints are like $100 million over the cap. The Dolphins are like 23 under the salary cap, and I'm like, well, surely they've got a lot of unrestricted free agents that they need to sign in house. No, it's like Ryan Fitzpatrick and Matt Breida, and then like a lot of like just pieces, and you're not even bringing those guys back. So yeah, like it's then obviously multiple draft picks, and then this is a great time, I think, with the salary cap going down, other teams not quite in the position that you're in. You can almost pick and choose the weapons that you want to be able to bring in if they're smart. So with that, what do you think about those weapons? We got a question here. Into the boards hockey. What wide receivers do you want to add to Miami? So I guess just toss it around, and Troy, start with you. Which wide receivers would be on your short list of who you think would be a great fit for this team?
If we're just talking about like free agents and we're not talking about like a draft, so if let's say that Sewell goes second, let's say the Jets take Sewell with their second pick, and for the third, I actually want to ask Tyler and George, would you guys want a Devontae Smith at 3?
No. And the reason why is if you look at what the number 3 overall pick was paid last year, it's $50 million. Like I struggle trying to pay a wide receiver $50 million that's not proven. So if we don't get Sewell at 3, like there are other positions in need that we could, like not even really of need, but there's other positions we can address. We can always do something I'm a huge fan of, which is trade back. If your guy's not there and Sewell goes at 3, you're telling me nobody wants to trade up for that to grab one of the quarterbacks? Absolutely they will, and they will pay a king's ransom for it. Like Justin Fields is available, guys. All you got to do is give us a couple of picks, and they'll do it. So trade back always. No, I don't want to draft Devontae Smith. I get the whole Alabama connection, but I don't want to pay an unproven wide receiver, especially one who's undersized, $50+ million over the next 5 years. I don't want to do it.
My personal pick would be Allen Robinson. If I had to choose a free agent, I would want Allen Robinson. Like out of all the options, that's who I would want.
Yeah, no, I back that. We have the money. Go get a proven guy that needs zero development. That again, like I was talking about earlier, Tua can't fail with an Allen Robinson. You can't. If you do, I don't know what to tell you. This wide receiver class is fantastically deep to the point where when I'm doing my dynasty rankings and I'm ranking my rookies, I'm challenged between the guys at like wide receiver 4 all the way down to guys at wide receiver 10. I think it's that deep. I think there's a lot of really, really talented guys, a bunch of guys that went back last year that are coming out this year. Your Tylan Wallace's types that if you get them in the 3rd, 4th round, they're still going to provide a very high-end value for you. You get yourself a star receiver, and you just kind of work with how the draft plays out. Penny Sewell is 100% the guy I would want. It's an offensive line talent that's just it's almost once in a blue moon, a guy that's this good. Even though we have our left tackle in Austin Jackson's still a guy I think needs a little bit of seasoning. You put him on left guard, Penny Sewell can step in as a left tackle and compete against the big boys in the NFL almost instantaneously. I think you get him, and for any reason that you do want to trade down and get a wide receiver, you need to trade down. You can't take him at 3. You just can't do it. Let the Panthers trade up. Let them go get the Justin Fields. Let the Lions move up. They want to now restart everything. There's teams that want to do it, and you'll still get your wide receiver at that pick. There's zero reason to draft Devontae Smith at 3. Go get him at 8, 9, 7, whatever. Whatever you got to do, trade down if you're going to do the wide receiver, because I won't mind that. I won't mind losing Sewell if you get a lot of value for it. That's what you got to look for the Dolphins.
No, I agree. Like if we could trade back, I obviously would definitely prefer that.
So if it's gone, then it's not like having Chase would be that bad of a
consolation prize.
Yeah. But having said that, now I did see this bit of news here that with Brian Flores being the coach and their whole coaching staff being there with the Senior Bowl, that they are pretty impressed with Devonta Smith, obviously. And there was an interview where Devonta Smith said that him and Tua have had conversations about playing together. So that makes things kind of interesting. George, I know that's not exactly what you want, but could you talk yourself into it, and Devonta?
So here's how I could talk myself into Devonta, and it's not far fetched. It's very easy to do. Sewell goes to the Jets. Miami calls up Detroit and says, "Hey, I'm willing to trade back. All it's going to cost you is Kenny Golladay and your 1st round pick." We do that swap, and then with the pick from the Lions. Then we take Devonta Smith if he's there. And then we get Kenny Golladay and Devonta Smith, which I don't think any Dolphins fan would mind at all.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Maybe you could make Detroit take Devonta Parker too. Maybe you could make that part of the deal.
I mean, I think this is something that no one has really mentioned, and I think it's kind of odd because it's a little oddball, I guess, out there. But you have the 3 pick, you take the 3 pick, you move up the 18. Is it a really crazy idea that San Francisco can't trade up in the draft to get their quarterback that they really want, and they're stuck with no one on the board that they won't trade back? Maybe you move up the 18, you get a Jalen Waddle at number 12. He also worked with Tua. I know we're not as crazy on him as most people, as some people are, but if you move up your 18 and get to the 12 pick, you have a lot of pick capital. You can do it. San Francisco will be willing to move back if they don't have a quarterback. You're telling me now, okay, you're going to have the number 12 pick and you're going to have the 3. You get your star offensive tackle. No one's questioning that move at all. And you still get a Waddle type and you have the free agency money to go get a star receiver. You did it. You solved the draft in 2 rounds and you still have, maybe you don't have one of the seconds that Houston, by the way, we also have their 2nd round pick.
Yes, we do.
For a 5th, for the 1 and a 5 pick. I don't care. We're already ahead of the game here. Play with your pieces. See if you can move up. I think that'd be a fantastic situation. You get a Waddle and you get your stool.
I miss Bill O'Brien, man. He could have done more.
Listen, I would feel a lot more comfortable with us getting a great deal on DeShaun Watson if Bill O'Brien was still there.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so look, I want to talk about that a little bit because I think one of the things that people are not talking about right now is that DeShaun Watson has a no trade clause, meaning DeShaun Watson has the power to this. If the Cleveland Browns offer the Houston Texans 17 first-round picks for DeShaun Watson, he can just say no. Like, he just says, I don't want to go there, and then that's it. So it feels like he wants to go to Miami. I almost feel like the Jets news about him, maybe wanting to go to the Jets was almost just like somebody leaked something to get some leverage to up the Miami Dolphins offer. But I kind of feel like this is a situation where if it does go down and he does get traded to Miami, people might be talking about how little of a return it took to get DeShaun Watson. You guys, are people in Miami kind of talking about like maybe this is not going to cost as much as you think?
So I think it's going to cost Tua the 3 and the 18. I think that's what it would cost. If the Texans want to play hardball with Miami, maybe they'll ask for their 2nd round pick back as well, which I don't mind throwing in the 2nd round pick. It's a high 2nd round pick, so it does carry a lot of value. But again, you're talking about DeShaun Watson, legitimate, proven, top 5. Yes, I was laughing at the poverty comment as well.
That's why it's ridiculous to think Watson wanted to go there, right? I mean, come on.
Listen, you can go play in New York where it's wet, it's cold, and you pay a ton in taxes, or you can come play in sunny Florida.
South Beach.
Where it's South Beach, it's Miami, there's no state tax. Like the amount of money that he would be paying in taxes alone versus what he'd be saving in Florida is it's a no-brainer. You'd want to come to Florida.
But also, like, he wants to clearly compete in the playoffs and for a Super Bowl. He's not going to do that with the Jets.
Not anytime soon.
Exactly. So, like, he's only getting older. So that's another reason why I'm like, Miami's set up to have a playoff run. So that makes way more sense than the Jets.
Yes, it does.
I think the cost might be less than you think. I'm hoping that, and I think the cards really kind of are in Miami's favor here. So, but I want to talk a little bit about the running back position because you guys brought it up before. Kind of out of nowhere, Myles Gaskins had a pretty productive year for fantasy. And he looked amazing. Like, he's a lot faster than I thought he was. Like, really good out of the backfield. Even though you don't want to see him dumping the ball off quite as much, he certainly looked the part. Even Ahmed came in and was pretty good. Now, some of that credit obviously maybe goes to the scheme, but I almost feel like the Dolphins coming into the season, they went cheap with, it didn't cost them very much to get Breida. They didn't pay a lot to get Jordan Howard. So even like, I don't know that they knew what they had in some of these other running backs, but almost like they kind of had that running backs don't matter mentality and they weren't going to invest a lot in it. On the other hand, there's been some people linking them to Najee Harris. So I want to toss it out to you guys as the Dolphins fans. Tyler, I'll just come back to you first. Like, what do you think is going to happen at the running back position going into next year?
Yeah, I think the Dolphins are looking to move into the SEC and draft all Alabama players and then recompete for the national championship. No, okay, we'll be serious. No, I think Gaskin is a legitimate option as a running back for them. Clearly, this scheme works where you can have low-end guys that maybe not be have all the traits you necessarily need to be successful as a three-down horse, but still can shine in it. But also at the same time, I think about it and I'm like, how much is it the scheme? Because Breida and Jordan Howard are both very unsuccessful, and somehow these two younger guys were able to absorb this scheme and run with it quite literally. I'm very impressed with Gaskin. I would see it as kind of crazy to invest first-round capital in a running back position. Obviously, you have 2 seconds. It's tempting. You have a third. A guy like Javonte Williams is very, very nice to me. A guy I just wrote up. I really like him as an overall talent. But gosh, do you really need to? I know this team, you kind of look at it and you see, okay, maybe there's a quarterback issue. You could invest in some line and you need weapons. But what else do they need? You have a lot of picks in the top 54 to be exact. That's a crazy number. You got a lot of wiggle room on what you can do here. I don't know if running back's the answer, though. I don't know if I'm ready to move off Gaskin. He had a fantastic season. Seriously, it was a great season from him. I don't know if you move off of him.
So I love Najee Harris. So but I think he's going to go in the first round. So I believe that's the thing that's scaring me from him. So I think more of a Javonte Williams, like he's most likely, I think he's going to be there around the second round. So I love Gaskins. He clearly had a great season. I think his main struggle from what I saw was at the goal line. He's a smaller guy, so he just wasn't that goal line back, but we don't necessarily, we found other ways to get it done, but I think that's the one knock that I saw from him. Other than that, he was fantastic. If we got like a Javonte Williams, I think he would complement someone like Gaskins in the backfield. Like he's just like that bigger, stronger back, and I think that would play well together. So, and I just like him. I just saw his tape last week, and I was extremely impressed. So, do we really need one? We can roll with Gaskins. Like we would be successful with Gaskins, but I feel like having, a Najee Harris or Javonte Williams would be nice. And maybe this is more just wishful thinking. There are other positions of need that the Dolphins could definitely focus on, but I wouldn't mind it. If we roll with Gaskins next year, I think we'll still be very successful as long as he stays healthy. But I would be very happy if somehow we were able to get either Najee Harris or Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I touched on it earlier. I don't think we need to draft a running back. I think if anything, we'll do what Troy was talking about, as in signing a complimentary back to him. Somebody like a Chris Carson or somebody to that ilk that you're not going to have to go pay the moon to get, but they can handle that short yardage goal line situation very easy. They're good in between the tackles. I touched on it earlier. Gaskins averaged 4.1 yards per carry. He had 60 targets, 41 receptions. Like he does everything you ask him to do. He's good in pass protection. He did struggle at the goal line, and that's where we need to bring in a bigger back. I think Chris Carson would be somebody who could come in, definitely handle that role, and I would rather spend the draft capital on a younger player that we can groom for a different position. I'm not a huge fan of spending high draft capital on running backs because they are the most easiest position on the field to replace. And if we have a big, strong, dominant line, like we don't need a top tier name to be effective in Miami. I mean, look what they're doing out in San Francisco. Like those guys are not top tier, top of the line, high draft pick running backs, but they're super effective because of the scheme in the offensive line. And so I think Miami can easily mimic that with the line that they have, and hopefully the line they'll have after the third pick of the draft.
We had Mostert at one point.
We absolutely did.
I kind of like the idea. I think my favorite scenario involves Phillip Lindsay in Miami. Like I would kind of like to see that. I think he's got like that toughness and that chip on his shoulder that I think would kind of fit well with that team. But what about any chance of a reunion with Kenyon Drake?
No, you go get Frank Gore. Reunion with him. Come on, let's go. Bring Frank Gore back. I'm starting the train. I'm going to tweet it out right after this.
If we're going to have a reunion in Miami, and this is solely like one of the guys that I'm a huge truther of, right? Is somebody that was already in Miami. He went to Kansas City, should have been the starting running back there in Kansas City, opted out, comes back, David Williams. Like, I think him and Miles Gaskins would be amazing backfield.
He should have been the Super Bowl MVP too.
Mm-hmm. He should have been. Yes.
He should have been.
Absolutely. It almost hurts my heart to look at the running backs we've let go that have gone on to do great things elsewhere.
Well, I think that's the show, guys. That's. I think there's a lot of awesome things going on with the Miami Dolphins. I can't tell you guys enough how much I appreciate you jumping on. George, let me just toss it back to you real quick. Just give us a shout out. Tell us a little bit about the charity league that you're running, because that's one of the really cool things that you do that I'd like you to talk on.
Yeah, so I was going to touch on it earlier, but I wanted to get the show going. I run a charity called BFTG Charities. BFTG stands for Break from the Grind. What we do is basically I run a whole bunch of charity leagues. Me and a friend of mine, Jason, we go to Pristine Auction. We purchase jerseys and footballs, and we have a Michael Irvin replica Lombardi trophy that's signed. And what we do is we run fantasy football leagues with those. It costs anywhere between $35 to up to $100 to get in. Every penny that we collect for the league dues turns around and goes directly to Toys for Tots. Last year, we raised a little over $11,200 for Toys for Tots. We ended up, kind of doing what Scott Fish does. We sent some money to Denver. We sent some money to California, and we sent some money to Detroit for them to go shopping. And then we did some shopping here for our local Toys for Tots chapter as well.
I love that. Tyler, Troy, anything else that you guys want to plug?
Oh, gosh, nothing that's going to up that. Fantastic job by George. I did not know that. I'll look into that. I'd love to be a part of that league. Anything to donate to that is a very, very great cause. I guess I have, again, a draft guide coming up. We're doing every prospect offensive-wise from this class, Dynasty rankings, strategy articles, everything under the moon that you want Dynasty-wise. For more updates on that, Tyler Moss NFL on Twitter again. Check me out there. Exciting for that project. I've been working on it since early December, so coming out hopefully in February for the early release. So yeah, exciting about that. Excited.
Troy, can we expect like a Taylor Swift shout out for you, or
I'm looking for the LL Cool J shout out.
Oh, the LL Cool J shout out. Well, I'll just say that next week, February 3rd, we're gonna have a very big guest. So my main focus is just kind of organizing guests for the show for this off season. Y'all have been kind of like the talent scout for it. Tyler, don't worry, I got you. But I see you. But we're doing every other week. So that's another thing I forgot. For the most part, it's gonna be every other Wednesday, but it could change and all that. But right now, for Fantasy Football Confidential, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out. Follow me at T King Mode. As also check out my articles on Ball Blast Football, as well as join our circle.
That's awesome. And then into the boards hockey, he says, new to the channel. Love the Dolphins. Excited to see some other content. Well, I've got good news for you. We are about to now go into a much different kind of show. We're gonna reset. I'm gonna pull this down. I got a new set of guests. We're gonna talk about the Houston Texans. Very, very, very different time and very, very different situation for that team. Let's say so. If you are like into the boards and you like good Dynasty content, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is only number 6 or 7 of these. We're going to do all 32 teams. Really excited that these guys joined us. Make sure you're following them on Twitter. They're all really great follows, really smart guys. Really appreciate you guys hopping on. For George, for Tyler, for Troy, for Matt Donnelly, the Dynasty Vipers, I guess we just say